In today's video, we're going to talk about tapering medications and the potential dangers of updosing. Stay tuned, I think you'll find this useful.
Who are you living for? What are they asking for? Trying to be everyone's favorite weighs you down every day while you parade in the frenzy. Be careful not to run far from home.
Hello there everyone and welcome back to The Lovely Grind. My name is Michael Preby and my website is lovelygrind.com. That's where you're going to find all of my blog posts and information about my courses, my support group, and my coaching options. So I hope you'll check out lovelygrind.com, and I welcome you back to my YouTube channel and to today's video, which is going to hopefully take a thoughtful look at some of the potential pitfalls of updosing medications while tapering. So just to share my background, I was on Paxil and Xanax for over a dozen years. I was prescribed those medications due to anxiety and panic I was having in college. Decided to get off them in my mid-30s, and when I did, I went through a pretty severe prescription drug withdrawal. It was a confusing time and a scary time to be sure, but it was ultimately a process, one of healing and growing, and I never regret having gotten off those medications. And I make these videos and do my coaching to help support people who are going through similar circumstances and looking forward to moving their lives in a different direction. And it goes without saying that the first step to moving on from these medications is getting off of them, right? And that usually involves tapering of some sort. And nowadays, tapering is usually a little more thoughtful, a little more gradual than what used to be recommended by a lot of doctors, which is it's just easy and quick to get off method. So a lot of people I talk to are involved in a pretty thoughtful and careful, planned out taper process, and that's beneficial. But no matter how you taper these medications, for the most part, there might be some symptoms, whether they're physical, mental, emotional. And so there's going to be some scary moments and moments of doubt when a person wonders which direction they ought to go. Continue moving forward in the taper, hold the taper, or maybe go up on dosage. And trust me, I was there too in such a period, wondering, waffling, how to move forward. I even tried reinstating 2 medications for a short period of time, so I understand this. What I'm going to do today isn't tell people, listen, never updose. I'm not saying no one's ever been helped by it or found some measure of stability through it, and oftentimes it's kind of a crisis situation when someone's considering it. But what I am going to do is present a few reasons why I feel it's best to avoid it, if possible. And reason number 1 is going to be because it creates a slippery slope. Once you updose once, it's super easy to do it again and again. And before you know it, you're moving in the opposite direction of the intent of the taper, which is to go down and get to zero so that the medications can clear out of your system and you can just move on and heal physically and psychologically and move on from the whole ordeal and experience of having taken the medications. So it can create a slippery slope, and psychologically that's a bit dangerous. And as I was going through tapering, I by no means did anything perfect. I got off the Paxil way too quickly and got off the Xanax in a pretty rudimentary manner, just dry cutting, and it wasn't too precise, but it was gradual, and I did have one rule that was pretty set in stone for myself, and that was not to go up on dosage. I think in general that's a good rule of thumb. There can be some holding in a taper, adjusting of pace and cut percentage and so forth, but if possible, try to avoid going up because it creates a slippery slope, and psychologically that puts a person in a kind of a difficult position to keep moving forward toward that goal of getting to zero. Another problem that I see with updosing is that it's looking ultimately for a solution within the problem. So it's misguided in that attempt. It's almost like when a person's in an abusive relationship and you keep trying to tweak it a little bit and say, well, maybe if I just did this differently, Or maybe if I just talk differently about this, maybe it would stop. Maybe next time it'll be different. But in a true abusive relationship, it never really is until the relationship is severed. And that's basically what you're looking to do when tapering a medication. You're looking to sever that relationship between you and these psych meds. Physically, psychologically, spiritually, looking to get off them, move on from them. And so updosing is kind of going back into the problem to look for a solution, perhaps going deeper and deeper. Now, if you think about it, when you begin a taper, the goal isn't to find just the perfect reduced dosage where you feel great. The goal is to get to zero. And with that has to be the acceptance that there might be some symptoms. So there's going to be scary times and times of doubt for a lot of people when you're getting off these medications. And again, a holding period might be recommended in my mind, but if you can avoid the updosing, that's going to keep you from continually looking for a solution from within the problem. Because once the decision was made to get off meds, it was made for a reason. They're causing problems somehow. Nobody just willy-nilly makes the decision to get off medications because things are going great. Either they're causing physical problems, emotional problems, judgment problems, concentration problems, relationship problems. There are reasons why you wanted to get off. Remember those reasons. And again, if you can move on psychologically from trying to look for a solution from within the matrix, so to speak, of the medications, then that's going to indeed bode well for you moving forward. Another problem I see with updosing, we kind of just talked about this, is the fact that the mindset there is focused on immediate relief, right? Rather than the big picture of achieving a goal. You're looking to put an end to a cycle. You're not just looking to escape the temporary pain of today or even this week. You want to try focusing on the bigger picture, because maybe there's been many, many years of problems with one medication or multiple medications and a lot of the same, going down dead-end roads, getting frustrated, a lot of pain. You're looking to get out of that cycle. Updosing is really not focused on ending that cycle, but just focused on finding immediate relief from pain, which again might be present during a taper. Hopefully, if a taper is going well and you find a pace and method that works for you, you mitigate those symptoms and you keep the bottom from falling out and you move forward with your life. You maybe work while you're tapering, continue with family responsibilities, but there might be some symptoms. And every time symptoms come up, and it might be because of stress, might be because of a reduction, might be because of an illness, might be for no discernible reason, but every time it comes up, you don't want to be looking at an updose as a potential solution. Because again, that's going to be kind of the opposite of the psychological approach a person has to take, which is to get out of the cycle and escape the grip of these medications. So there just aren't continual loops of complications and pain. Finally, I think it's important to note that with updosing, there can sometimes be frustration. There might be some disappointment there, some discouragement, because maybe the updose doesn't provide the big picture, large scale, in some respects magical solution that a person's hoping it will. And once that happens, things really become discouraging and confusing, and it can feel like there's nowhere to turn. I remember experiencing the same thing when I briefly tried to reinstate low doses of 2 medications after I had gotten off the Paxil. It was a very confusing time, and ultimately I decided that I was going to stop looking for solutions and answers from within the framework of the actual problem. The medications were the problem, and that's what I was seeking to escape. And it didn't mean there wouldn't be challenges on the way, but I was always hopeful that once I got free and clear of those medications, eventually that problem cycle would resolve itself, and it did. And again, that's not to say that it might never help a person, and I'm never one to sit here and dictate to people exactly how they ought to do things. Life is complicated, and this situation is especially complicated. But again, discussing from a thoughtful approach the potential pitfalls of updosing, I think that one potential pitfall is it takes your focus off of the goal. You lose sight potentially of what you are doing. You might lose sight of what you're doing, and then a person is, in effect, kind of stuck in limbo. You wanted to get off the medications, you started getting off the medications, but now you don't know if it's even a possibility or if you want to continue, and maybe you're heading in the opposite direction and the goal is no longer really just to get off the medication, and maybe you don't even know what the goal is anymore. And that's a real pitfall, because there has to be a goal when tapering medications. And again, if you think back to perhaps when you started, the goal likely wasn't to half the medication or get to that halfway point and then just say, okay, now I'm good. The goal is to get on and clear them out of your system and heal physiologically and psychologically and move your life forward, sever, again, that relationship with these medications, get out of that relationship and find empowerment and healing. So updosing can sometimes psychologically take your eye off the prize, and before you know it, you don't know where to go or why you're doing anything. So that's just something to think about, if you're considering an updose. And again, this video hasn't been to say that no one should ever updose or that it hasn't been helpful for anyone. I wouldn't say that. But what I would say is, if you're considering it and you haven't done it yet, think through it. Find ways to cope with those symptoms. Find ways to hang on until there's some level of stability reached in a relative respect on its own. Find other ways to then move forward in your taper. And if you have to hold for a while until you find those ways, fine. But try not to lose sight of what you're doing or continue to look for solutions from within the problem. As someone who was on these medications for many years, as someone who went through very severe withdrawal in many respects, as someone who had a lot of doubts and a lot of pain, I can tell you I never for a moment regret having forged ahead to get to zero and stay away from those medications and move forward with my life. And I think that if you continue with your quest to do the same in a thoughtful manner with some support, you're going to be able to say the same, and you're going to find healing and feel better and move your life forward as well. So I want to encourage you in that. My name is Michael Preby. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Again, my website's lovelygrind.com. I hope you'll check that out. Check out my blog posts, contact me about coaching there. And I hope you'll come back to these videos again and again for a little support and encouragement and information, perhaps some wisdom. And until next time, please remember to take care of yourself and your dreams.